We have a problem, Batman. Gotham needs you again.
The Sinister Six represents Spider, man's failures given form and purpose. Criminals who learn to work together specifically because one hero kept beating them individually. Dr. Octopus brings scientific genius and mechanical arms. Sandman offers shape, shifting, and near invulnerability. Electro provides raw electrical power. Vulture adds aerial mobility and predatory instincts. Mysterio contributes illusion mastery and psychological warfare, while Kraven delivers hunting expertise and combat skills. The problem isn't their individual abilities, but their coordination under Octopus's leadership, transforming 6 separate threats into one unified nightmare. Each member covers the other's weaknesses while amplifying their collective strengths, creating a tactical scenario where traditional divide and conquer approaches fail. Their shared hatred of Spider-Man provides emotional unity that transcends typical criminal alliances, making them more cohesive and persistent than most villain teams. Combined abilities create tactical challenges that exceed the sum of their individual parts, as each villain's powers complement and enhance the others in ways that eliminate traditional countermeasures. Electro can supercharge Octopus's mechanical arms, while Sandman provides a mobile platform for Vulture's aerial attacks, creating 3-dimensional combat scenarios where escape routes are systematically eliminated. Mysterio's illusions mask the true positions and capabilities of his teammates, while Kraven tracks targets that think they've found safe hiding spots. Their coordination allows for complex stage attacks where apparent victories become setups for devastating follow-up strikes from different team members. The strategy requires treating them as a single organism rather than 6 separate opponents, understanding that defeating individual members becomes meaningless if the team structure remains intact. Leadership dynamics under Dr. Octopus create both their greatest organizational strength and most exploitable weakness, as his scientific arrogance and need for control clash with the independent personalities and massive egos of his teammates. Octopus views himself as the intellectual superior who deserves command, while his allies chafe under his condescending leadership style and rigid tactical planning. The tension between his calculated approach and their more chaotic impulses creates friction that can be deliberately amplified through psychological manipulation and strategic pressure. Each member joined the team for personal reasons, revenge, profit, or simply the chance to finally defeat Spider-Man. But these individual motivations don't always align with Octopus's grand schemes. The fracture points in their alliance can be identified and systematically widened until internal conflict becomes more pressing than external threats. What do you think, Alfred?
Master, the Sinister Six represents something quite tragic when examined closely. Talented individuals who might have achieved great things if their abilities had been channeled toward constructive purposes rather than revenge. Dr. Octopus possesses brilliant scientific mind, Sandman has survived incredible hardships, Electro commands forces that could power cities, Vulture's engineering skills are remarkable, Mysterio's special effects mastery is genuinely artistic, and Kraven's dedication to his craft is almost admirable. Their alliance stems from repeated failures and frustrations rather than genuine camaraderie, suggesting that success in legitimate endeavors might dissolve their criminal bonds more effectively than defeat in battle. Perhaps the most strategic approach involves offering them alternatives to villainy that satisfy their core needs without requiring Spider-Man's destruction.
Alfred makes a decent point about alternative approaches, but he's overlooking the fundamental issue. These aren't desperate people who turn to crime out of necessity. They're narcissists and psychopaths who chose evil because it was easier than earning respect through legitimate means. Octopus could have been a respected scientist, but preferred being a criminal mastermind. Kraven could have been a wildlife conservationist, but decided hunting people was more exciting. The others had similar choices and consistently picked the darker path. The strategy focuses on containment and disruption rather than rehabilitation, treating them as a persistent threat that requires ongoing management rather than a problem that can be permanently solved through good intentions. What do you think, Robin?
You know, it's funny. They're basically 6 main characters trying to squeeze into one story. Each of these guys is used to being the big bad in their own criminal career, and now they have to take turns being important. It's like watching a bunch of actors all trying to steal the same scene. Octopus thinks he's the director, but everyone else wants to ad-lib their own lines. That's why they keep failing. They're more worried about proving they're the coolest villain than actually accomplishing anything together.
Robin's assessment reveals the core vulnerability in their team dynamic. They're all alpha personalities forced into a collaborative structure that goes against their fundamental nature as individual villains. This creates predictable behavioral patterns where personal glory conflicts with team objectives, allowing for manipulation tactics that exploit their competitive instincts against each other. The strategy involves creating scenarios where team success requires individual sacrifice, where following orders means accepting subordinate roles, where victory for the group means defeat for personal ambitions. When their need to be the star becomes stronger than their desire to defeat Spider-Man, their coordination collapses, and they become manageable individual threats rather than an overwhelming collective force. Divide and conquer tactics focus on exploiting the specific personality conflicts and professional rivalries that exist between team members, turning their temporary alliance into permanent animosity. Octopus's intellectual snobbery clashes with Sandman's street-level pragmatism, while Electro's volatile temperament conflicts with Vulture's calculated patience. Mysterio's theatrical nature irritates Kraven's no-nonsense hunting approach, creating natural fault lines that can be systematically widened through careful provocation. The approach involves creating situations where team members' individual methods interfere with each other, where their different approaches to problem-solving create operational conflicts, where personal grudges become more important than shared objectives. When villains who barely tolerate each other are forced to depend on teammates they actively dislike, small disagreements escalate into major schisms that destroy team cohesion. Resource denial targets their shared infrastructure and support systems, recognizing that 6 high-maintenance criminals require significant logistical coordination to operate effectively as a team. Their hideouts must accommodate multiple specialized needs: Octopus's laboratory equipment, Electro's power regulation systems, Sandman's environmental requirements, Vulture's aircraft maintenance needs, Mysterio's special effects workshop, and Kraven's weapon collection. The strategy involves systematic identification and destruction of these support facilities, forcing them to operate from inadequate temporary bases that create friction and reduce their effectiveness. This includes targeting their funding sources, disrupting their supply chains, and eliminating their technical support personnel who maintain their specialized equipment. When criminals can't maintain their gear or afford their operations, their impressive abilities become significantly less threatening. Communication disruption exploits their need for coordination during complex multi-member operations. Understanding that their greatest tactical advantage depends on real-time information sharing and synchronized timing. Their attacks require precise coordination between members, with vastly different operational speeds and ranges. Electro's instantaneous electrical attacks must be timed with Vulture's aerial positioning, while Mysterio's illusions need to account for Sandman's shape-changing abilities. The strategy involves electronic warfare that can jam their communications, create false signals that provide incorrect tactical information, and introduce delays that throw off their carefully planned timing. When villains who depend on coordination can't communicate effectively, their complex team tactics become chaotic individual efforts that can be handled through conventional means.